Hi, Josh. Welcome to your time in the spotlight for our employee spotlight this month. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Glad you're here. So first, let's start off. I'm curious to hear about how you got into the role that you're in now. But to start off with, how did you get an interest in technology? Is this something that you've always had an interest in?
Yeah, so it's something I studied at school quite heavily, that and sport, which is quite a contrast actually. But so I studied it at school, and then when I left school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I went and did some work for actually my dad's company, which is in automation as well, but more like robotics and things like that. So I got involved in that, started working in some Visual Basic, so that's basic coding, and just spurred the interest from there really.
Very cool. So you mentioned your father. I assume that he's a techie kind of person, and perhaps you've been around that, like even growing up and in your childhood, you were exposed to technology?
Yeah, so my dad's more in the management side of things, but definitely I've been exposed to technology from a very young age. It's something that we as sort of millennials, I guess, are exposed to anyway. So. Definitely.
Yeah, and it's just a part of life, right? There's no
massively.
No differentiation between where the technology ends and stops and life begins, kind of thing. So
I think it's only a positive thing. It's only a positive thing that we're growing and using technology more and more. So
you mentioned that you went to school for what you're specializing in. How did you come across, or at least specialize in, the role that you're in now? How did you know that this was something that you wanted to get into?
So that was, again, mainly through working for my dad's company. They did automation, which again was robotics, but it got into sort of the mindset of how automation worked, I guess. And then my uncle also works in the same industry. So so I got into it that way, basically.
So describe for us what you do in a typical day at Elantis.
I'm mainly at the moment doing business analyst, so working with customers, identifying requirements, and sort of designing a solution for them, which is definitely enjoyable. But also, I also do business process automation, so building workflows, building forms, things like that through Nintex and the Power Platform. So yeah, it's exciting.
Lots of variety.
Massive, yeah, and also I guess SharePoint migrations as well. That's another thing I do. So I'm doing pretty much everything here. So good. It's good. It's good exposure. Good to sort of have different days. It's just something I guess that's attractive about working in IT, is that every day is different. I know I've worked in quite a few other jobs which every day is very, very similar, but with this it's different challenges, and it's only positive. So
I agree. Keeps things exciting when it's always changing, and we're learning new ways to keep up and stay fresh. So on that note, how do you stay on top of technology and all the changes that always happen? Are there blogs you follow, or influencers, or websites you read? Like, how do you stay on top of it all?
It tends to just be research and things like that. I'm actually doing a degree currently, so in computer sciences. So that definitely gives me a lot of knowledge on current sort of technologies, things like that. So and also I have to read up on blogs for assignments and things like that. So that's my main source of keeping up with technologies, but also a lot of training, things like that. So yeah.
So with no day being the same at Elantis here, has there been a moment either here in your current role or prior to Elantis that you are most proud of?
Most proud of. I wouldn't pinpoint a day, but what I would say is just delivering projects well and seeing customers sort of happy with the products that we deliver and the solutions that we deliver is something that you're continually proud of. Getting through UAT specifically, showing the customer, especially bringing it from a design phase where you're showing them sort of like a proof of concept and things like that, and then actually showing them, say, like an application at the end of it and something that they can physically use and it's going to improve their business processes is definitely something that I would say gives you a lot of satisfaction. So
absolutely. So it sounds like, with every day being exciting and changing and different, what's the one thing that you would say you wake up looking most forward to coming to work for?
Just working with the team, working with customers, and just the social side of it is massive. And obviously, although I work remotely, which seems really odd, I still feel like this is a very social job, and I enjoy working with people and talking to people. So that would be probably the thing I would say gets me up in the morning, I guess.
And isn't it amazing how working remotely as you do that you can still feel so connected, right? And still feel like, one, that you're part of the team, but also that you're really able to provide that service to clients just as if you were sitting right next to them. So
absolutely, yeah. It's as I said before, the sort of like advancements in technology have been massive, and I think COVID was a massive thing for the sort of working remotely and things like that. So and it's been sort of helpful for me, I guess. But I would also say that Elantis as a culture sort of helps with that, if that makes sense. They want you to be part of the team. People enjoy speaking to each other and collaborating, I guess, which comes down to the culture at Elantis. I would suggest that maybe not all companies would be like that. So
yeah, that's really great. And so we've talked about a lot of positive things, and I know you're a pretty positive guy, but what challenges have you faced? It could be small hurdles, or just some challenges in executing projects, and how might you have overcome them?
Definitely with the process automation, it was something that was very new to me. So coming in and trying to deliver projects, I'd done a lot of training, so I felt fairly confident in my ability to deliver things. But certainly when it came to actually delivering a project, it was a lot harder than you perhaps would have expected, because you hadn't had that exposure to actual project work and delivering a project based on customer requirements and things like that. So that was definitely a challenge for me, something that you don't expect necessarily. But the way I got through that was just through talking to the team. There's so many experienced people here, or past people who are always on the end of a message or a call, and they're always willing to help. So that's a massive thing. So
that's great. So I know you're younger, you're in the early stages of your career, but you've achieved so much, even at the stage that you're at. What advice would you give to someone who is new to IT or new to IT consulting, that you wish you knew when you were starting out?
Ask as many questions as you can is the one thing I would say. It doesn't matter if you don't know something and you think you should just ask the questions, because as long as you've put in enough effort into trying to find out the answer yourself, if you go and ask someone a question, it might save you a lot of time. It might save you a lot of time on a project, a lot of effort, just to go and ask someone. And 9 times out of 10, someone's going to be willing to help you. So yeah, that's the one.
That's a great piece of advice. Suggest. Yeah, because it's, some folks think that by asking questions, it's a sign of weakness. But if, like you say, you've done some research and you've tried to figure it out on your own first, well, then it's going to be an intelligent question, right? Like and you're right. There's a good chance that people are going to want to help you find the answer. And if you can't, if they don't know it, then to work together to find the answer. So yeah, I think that's a really great piece of advice. And that inquisitiveness is a trait that I think will carry you far throughout your career, because we're always learning, right? There's always questions to ask. And great piece of advice. So I have one more question for you then, Josh, is what's next for you in your career? How do you see your role evolving here at Elantis, and where do you see yourself in, let's say, even the next 5 years?
I mean, I'm obviously content with being at Elantis. I love it here. So I'm going to be staying here. I want to sort of build myself and work towards the architect role. Maybe not in the next 5 years, but certainly after university, things like that. That's sort of what I want to work towards is architecting. So.
Great job. Great career goals. We're so lucky to have you here, Josh. So thank you so much for being part of this Employee Spotlight this month. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.